What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Iron Maiden, and we're going back to the 1988 album Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, a concept album. I mentioned it before, I love all the albums, which I always feel like I have to specify. The albums that I've done my deep dive on in the last 6 or 7 years, well before I started doing reaction videos, it's focused on the Bruce periods of Iron Maiden, meaning I don't have the albums before he came in, I don't have the albums from the 90s. But like I said, all the albums I do have, I love a great deal. I do enjoy that this one is a concept album, sort of a story that plays out over a number of songs, which can be seen as sort of like individual concepts and sort of stories, but also they take part in this larger tapestry, which I love. I do know Bruce is fond of the album. I remember reading that, because he didn't get any songs into Somewhere in Time, like that album isn't his favorite, and wasn't all that keen on performing those songs, but that he was involved much more directly in the sort of concepts and ideas behind this album, and was involved in writing at least a few of the songs, I think. So yeah, my understanding is that he is fond of this one. We're going to listen to the Clairvoyant. Once again, my deep dive on Iron Maiden is the last 6 or 7 years, so I don't claim to be definitive when any sort of lyrical analysis I do, but certainly Iron Maiden, where it's not a band I've been listening to for 30, 35 years or so on. It's a band I've been listening to for much more recently, although admittedly, a few years now, and I have thought about these songs a lot. But like I said, if people have a more detailed or a different interpretation of that, that's awesome, and I'm sure, that mine is less likely to be accurate. But what I take from this song is that at this point, the seventh son of a seventh son is fully aware of his clairvoyant powers, but it's becoming sort of muddled, like it's hard to tell the difference between real life and what his brain or like his seeing eye is seeing in the future. And ultimately, it's like he can't really like see his doom coming, but he feels like his only way to escape this sort of maddening situation is death. So yeah, it's a really interesting concept about if you really could see the future, does that also bring, baggage with it? Is it a poison chalice? But in this case, it feels like perhaps like the perception was such that like he's seeing all these things in a way that makes them indistinguishable between what is going to happen and what isn't going to happen, and the only way to escape that is death. So it's a really cleverly written song. I think it fits into the larger tapestry, which again, if you have like a clearer view of that, please do let me know. And yeah, the song itself, it has a real epic quality. It's Bruce singing in that like theatrical style, the kind of like heightened sort of dramatic delivery, which when I first started doing the deep dive, I just began with Number of the Beast because I was aware that's when he first comes into the group, and it featured one of the few songs I did know already, which is Hallowed Be Thy Name, which I mentioned I heard it in a skate video from the 90s, Welcome to Hell by Toy Machine. And the guy who actually showed me that video many years later, like 2015, 2016, he was the one who was sort of like, hey, I think you'd like Iron Maiden more. They have a lot of songs, history, literature, they make like stories that combine like, the earthly with the supernatural and so on. And so, he was absolutely right, and I've loved the deep dive. But yeah, that song, it's interesting because I did know it in advance, and then I reconnected with it very early in the deep dive. But bottom line, I love the artistry of the album. I love, again, they put a lot of attention into the sort of like visuals and artwork on their various albums, which I appreciate. So let's get it. This is the Clairvoyant. It's from the album Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, which is from 1988. But I do have to stipulate that I have a sort of reissue. In the moment, I'm forgetting exactly what year it is. Not that it really matters, but let me just check for 1 second, because I am curious. Because, they have the kind of albums where there's like 87,000 million different versions. So, okay, my reissue is from 2019, so it's a pretty recent reissue. But okay, so here we go. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son by Iron Maiden, and the album, or the song is The Clairvoyant. Yeah, just a really cool tune. Again, there might be elements of that I'm sort of failing to appreciate or pick up on, but generally the broad strokes of him sort of having this ability but sort of losing control of it to the point where his mind is incapable of like distinguishing between sort of the lies and the truth that he's seeing, and then ultimately not picking up on the fact that the only way out of this is his own death, so not being able to see his own death coming despite all the powers that he possesses. It's just a really interesting song. Again, I love their ability to craft narratives, some of them relating to literature and so on, but others just sort of, you know, spinning out from ideas that they have sort of, and then again weaving it into this larger sort of concept album. So really love that. Let me know what you think of this one. I will see you next time. Peace.